Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to discuss the new movie, The Banshees of Inisherin, I think it's how it's called, directed by Martin McDonagh, which is an Irish film that came out last year. Martin McDonagh, he was the director who also made In Bruges from 2008, and he has made other kind of black comedies that is kind of good. I sort of genuinely I like his sense of humor in the style he uses in his movies. I think it's very weird and it's very different, and so therefore I was also curious about this film, and finally 2 days ago I saw it. The story, it sort of takes place on a fictional island in Ireland, where the two main leads is Colin Farrell and Gleeson, who is two former friends but then suddenly one day Gleeson's character doesn't want to have anything to do with Colin Farrell's character anymore, and there is this kind of weird conflict between them that we don't really know that much about. And that the thing is, Colin Farrell's character hasn't done anything wrong particularly, but Gleeson's character doesn't care about Colin Farrell anymore, so he doesn't want anything to do with him because he thinks he's too boring as a person, and he wants sort of to find a meaning in his later life and wants to create some music. And to be honest, I really like that sort of beginning. It's very different, and I sort of was intrigued by where it wanted to go later on in the film. And Gleeson and Colin Farrell is always very excellent actors. I really like them in the stuff they do. They are not typical Hollywood actors. They are a bit more weird, a bit more I wouldn't say over the top, but they act. I always like the way they act. They act a bit differently, and they're not afraid of playing weird characters. They were also both in Bruges, and Colin Farrell, he was also in the Killing of the Sacred Deer, I think it was called, which was also a very weird movie that I quite liked actually. But this film, I had some weird feelings about doing when I watched it, because in some ways I thought it was very well made and well acted, and it has some interesting has an interesting premise, and it's sort of I was curious where it wanted to go, and it's kind of a well made film, and it's also quite funny, and it has a great score and a great it's great look to it. It's a beautiful landscape, beautiful filmed. And yet I must say that the last half is kind of bad in some ways. I felt the last half was just weird to be weird. I felt it needed something to make it better. I understand that the director tried to make sort of an allegory of the Irish Civil War in some ways and so then make these two characters fall, the relationship had to fall apart essentially, and they have to do some weird shit in the film, particularly Gleeson, he says to Colin Farrell's character that if he talks to him again, then he will cut his fingers off, and then he gives it to Colin Farrell, and he does it many times during the film, or at least he cuts his whole all his fingers on his one hand, and I don't mind that necessarily. It was kind of funny in the beginning, but then Colin Farrell wanted revenge, and sort of because one of his animals died because of the fingers, and then he burns Brendan Gleeson's house down essentially, and then I was like, what the hell? It felt like, oh, it's just in the end it was just a revenge plot essentially. It wasn't anything. It just felt like, oh, we have an interesting beginning here. Where do we want it to go? Oh, we just make them clash. I didn't like that. So in some ways, even though I do understand why some people may like this film, I don't think it's as good as some people says. I think it's Martin McDonagh's worst film of those I have seen, but not bad, not necessarily. I just felt that the end was a bit of a mess, really, and I felt that it didn't have a purpose. It didn't feel like it had a purpose. When it ended, I was like, was that it? What was the meaning of it? I don't feel you can maybe probably interpret it in different ways, but I feel the director's symbolism was kind of bad. I didn't like the way he ended his film. In the end, there's this boy who is kind of a good actor. I've seen him before, also in I think it's Dunkirk he is in, and he's kind of a good actor. But his character ended up dying for really no reason, and I don't understand why. It was kind of more like a shock effect, really, and I felt it was a lazy excuse just to kill a character off. It didn't make any sense to me. I felt like they wanted to build some suspense up that maybe this Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell's character, one of them are going to die, or maybe both of them, but in the end none of them really dies, and then they just kill off other characters for some weird reason. No, I don't really like the last half of it, but it's worth watching. I would say it's worth watching, but it could have been better. That's all I'm going to say. But thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of this movie, and I hope you will all have a very nice day. Bye.